Hi everyone, this is Team 5 comprising of Kanish, Varun and I Shlok. And today we are going to present a paper on Conflux protocol, which offers high throughput with fast confirmation. So to begin with, we should understand the concept of blockchain first. So blockchain is a technology which stores data in the form of blocks connected with each other using a chain of hashes. An ideal blockchain should ensure that it shouldn't be controlled by a single entity. Instead, it should be decentralized. It should be permissionless to join and leave, and hence it should also be scalable to handle large amount of participants. And one ideal blockchain should also be robust in nature. That is, there should be a safety against double spending attacks, as well as there should be liveness against DOS attacks. An ideal blockchain should also ensure fast confirmation for its transaction, as well as it should also guarantee some high throughput. So that these are the properties that make up a ideal blockchain. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency which is based on blockchain. In a Bitcoin, transactions are stored in the form of blocks. Each block is mined every 10 minutes and is of roughly 1 megabyte size. These blocks become a part of blockchain when the legitimacy of the transaction within them is verified. Hence, the chain which is storing the maximum number of blocks is considered legit, and thus all other chains which are shorter than it are rejected. This, the longest chain mechanism, is known as standard Nakamoto consensus. So due to this huge mining and verification process, blockchain has a bottleneck. So in a Bitcoin, there are around 7 transactions per second, which take around 1 hour to confirm. Whereas in online banking services like Visa, there are around 3,000 transactions per second, which is very huge, and they take just few seconds to confirm. So why not speed up this process? Let us consider a blockchain which is having just 15% blocks of its upper limit and boost the it's in order to boost its performance, let's reduce the difficulty of the puzzles so that people can mine blocks very fast. Since like now the people are mining blocks very fast, more and more people will be able to mine blocks which concurrently again and again. So what will this do is, suppose there is a delay between two nodes, then both nodes will try to put up their block in the chain, and thus there will be forks. So whenever the mining rate is more than the propagation delay, the number of the forks in the chain will increase drastically. So now you can see that original chain, which was green in color, is now having multiple forks. So now what an attacker can do is it can also create a fork and can internally increase its own chain where it can perform malicious transactions. So now what attacker is going to do is it is going to increase its chain, and once its own chain is greater than the original chain, he is going to introduce this chain to our original blockchain. And since we are using the concept of considering the largest chain as a valid chain, this chain is going to get selected. So now attacker's chain is going to become a part of main chain, and hence what attacker can do, he can double spend. This is something wrong, and thus speeding up the block generation process is not a good idea whenever we are using the longest chain selection rule.
So now we are faced with a unique trilemma, which is known as the blockchain trilemma. It says that out of scalability, security, and decentralization, we can only achieve two. So typical proof of a protocol such as the Nakamoto consensus and so on, they achieve security and decentralization, but they have to compromise on stability. But then a new protocol, which is the Ghost protocol, was introduced. What the Ghost protocol does is it is an abbreviation for greedy heaviest observed subtree. So in blockchain, we know there's a trade-off in increasing throughput by increasing block size or mining, decreasing difficulty, versus compromising security. So in Ghost protocol, what we do is we decide the main chain based on the heaviest subtree formed instead of the longest chain protocol as in Nakamoto consensus. Thus, Ghost protocol achieves consensus on block ordering even in the presence of forks. Suppose that there is a blockchain with a very high mining rate, that is very low difficulty. Then the then the chain of blocks will not look like a chain, but it will be more of a DAG, that is directed acyclic graph. In this, the longest chain will be this chain. So the red blocks are mined by the attacker in private, which are not disclosed yet. So the longest chain currently in the blockchain is the chain marked in green. But what happens is that as soon as the attacker mines more blocks and he discloses his private chain, then the longest chain becomes the attacker's chain. So double spending becomes a possibility. But in what Ghost does is it chooses the next block in a chain based on the block which has the heaviest subtree. Suppose that we have to choose from blocks A, B, and C. Then what it does is it sees the subtree size of A, B, and C. So the sizes are 3, 4, and 1 respectively. So it chooses the subtree of B. So then again, for its children, it will see the subtree size and it will choose subsequently, and this process repeats. So this becomes the Ghost protocol's selected chain. So Ghost protocol can achieve consensus, and the chain selection rule works even in presence of high forks. But there is a problem in this protocol, which is the possibility of a liveness attack. If you consider a network where the honest nodes are partitioned into two disjoint sets, and the propagation delay between each of these sets of group A and group B is at least D, then what an attacker can do is it can mine blocks on either the main subtree of A or the main subtree of B selectively, such that when the broadcasting news of block from group A reaches group B, the weight is already balanced. It will be sort of a balancing attack which will prevent any block from being confirmed indefinitely. So in this case, the attacker can halt the consensus process forever, even without having more than half the mining rate. So this leads to forks being unresolved, and it can also lead to double spending, because if there are two chains being formed, then attacker can spend coins once in each of the chains. So it not only compromises liveness, but also leads to double spending. The solution to this problem was a structured Ghost protocol. The problem we faced was because the mining rate was way higher than the propagation delay, and hence the attacker was able to mine the blocks before the news of one group reached the other. But what structured Ghost does is it assigns weight to the blocks probabilistically with a probability of 1 by h, and the block being assigned weight will be h. That is, each block will be assigned weight h with probability 1 by h and 0 otherwise. The expected weight will remain same, but to balance two trees, the attacker will have to mine h blocks. So if the time of mining h block is more than the propagation delay, then we can make sure that the system is secure. But the problem with such a system is that it slows down confirmation, because if the system is not under attack, still for confirmation we'll have to mine h blocks to decide on the weight of between different subtrees and such. And thus, in normal working scenarios, structured Ghost compromises on latency and throughput. The solution to that problem is GHAST, a greedy heaviest adaptive subtree algorithm, which under normal circumstances operates like Ghost with high throughput and low confirmation latency. And under attack, it switches to structured Ghost to ensure liveness, but on the trade-off of high confirmation latency. So there exists a function which takes in for a block mined, it takes in the previous subtree of the block, and it checks whether the past subgraph is safe from liveness attack. If it is, then it assigns weight 1 and operates like Ghost protocol. If it is not safe from liveness attack, then it assigns weight h with probability 1 by h and otherwise 0.
Now let's see about the tree graph structure used in a Conflux protocol. So Conflux protocol uses a tree graph structure which has nodes as their blocks, and it also has edges, and there can be two types of edges known as parent edge and a reference edge. As you can see in the below diagram as well, the parent edges are these direct edges represented by these lines, and the reference edges are these dashed edges, right? Represented by these dashed edges. So now let us try to see what are these in a little bit of more detail. And now there are blocks. Each block will have one parent edge through connecting to the node from it, whose child it is. You can say the from the longest chain, and the reference edges depict what are all nodes lying before that current block. So we can see that this E block has a reference edge to D block because D was generated before this E block based upon this longest chain in this structure. Now, whenever we have consider we have a graph already and we have to add one more block in that. So adding one more block, there will become two type of edges. First edge will be the parent edge, which will be connected to the parent of that child. For example, let's consider this is a graph and this is a new block added, a new block. So we will be adding one edge to the parent block of this child, and there will be reference edges also to the previous blocks which don't have any incoming edge currently. So this is the way it will work. Let us depict it through diagram as well. So we can see that this new block once added has a edge parent edge to block H and reference edges to block K. So now these basically why this is helpful now, these reference edges. So these reference edges depict that when I added a current block, what all were previously before me, and I will connect them to those blocks. So it kind of helps us to kind of generate the history of the blockchain so that it can be used later for the analysis or something like that. Now, how to generate weights from past subgraphs? So we want to create a function such that when we pass a subgraph to that function, it tells us the weight of that generated block so that we can tell that, hey, this subgraph generated was stable or not stable. So if it is stable, if the generated subgraph is stable, we assign a weight of 1 to all of our nodes. Otherwise, we assign a weight of h with a probability of 1 by h to all of our nodes. This is done so as to know about the stability of our graph. Now let us see in a little bit of detail like how to create such kind of function. So for creating such kind of function, we should take care that a that is generated is long enough and one of its children as depicted a dash here, which is having a subtree of a dash. If this is the stable one, then basically the subtree of a dash should have a dominant node, and more future blocks after a should accumulate under the subtree of a. So this is how we can decide about the function to calculate weight and assign the weights according to the probability or the stability of those functions.
So let's see what a timer chain is. A timer chain is a blockchain which is present within a tree graph. It is used to estimate the block generation time by giving the height of the latest timer block in its past. So basically what it does, it's suppose I want to get the generation time of X, I'll just see the timer chain height of this entire chain, which is its parent. It is used in conflux ordering algorithm. So a conflux ordering algorithm is used to find block total order of a tree graph. It initially assumes that each pivot chain block forms one epoch and an off-chain block belongs to the first epoch whose corresponding pivot chain block happens after it. Let's see how it works. So initially, we use the timer chain algorithm to find the epochs and we divide the tree into separate epochs. So this is one epoch, this is another epoch, this is another epoch, and this is another epoch. So initially what we did is we just wrote down all the block nodes. Now what we are going to do is we are going to sort them in on the basis of epoch. So now CA was written initially because it is coming in the first epoch. Now CB was written, then DEF was written, and GHJI is written. So the ordering within an epoch doesn't matter as of now. Now the ordering matters in it. So within an epoch, what we are going to do is we are going to topologically sort, and whichever blocks come at the last in the dependency, that is going to get selected. So A got selected for the first epoch, C got selected in the second epoch, E got selected in the third epoch, and H got selected in the fourth epoch. So we get the block order as ACEH, right? And suppose while selecting this thing, we are getting a tie. So we are getting two nodes which are having the same values. So what we can do is we can use their block IDs and block break the ties. We can use any kind of rule. We can use that the first block ID can be selected or the second one can be selected and first can be ignored. So ultimately, after using these three steps, we can get the following block order.
Now we have shown how the conflux algorithm works. We need to prove its correctness. For proving a correctness of a protocol, we show two properties. One is that the protocol is safe. That is, there is a very low probability of reverting a transaction. And two, the liveness of the protocol is ensured. That is, all transaction gets added and confirmed within a finite time. To show these two properties, we consider an adversary model where the adversary is Byzantine in nature. The adversary can immediately receive all blocks mined, that is, there is no propagation delay. The adversary can also arbitrarily control communication between host nodes and subjected to the constraint that the maximum delay between communication can be D. Other than this, the adversary being Byzantine need not always act in a rational way. It can act in arbitrary manner. First, we prove how liveness is ensured in our protocol. So suppose the blockchain scenario is as shown in this diagram. So when the adversary mines block A and B and includes a double spend transaction in block B, then an honest block N is mined after a given amount of time. Now, Conflux selects Genesis block A, C, E, and H as the pivot chain as described by the algorithm before, and adds N to the blockchain after this. Note that double spend has not happened so far because block A is there in the main chain and B is not included. But now the adversary tries to launch a liveness attack. So in the protocol, it does not immediately happen that the blockchain mitigates a liveness attack, and there is a delay in mitigation of the attack. But once the blockchain protocol realizes that there is a liveness attack being launched, then it changes the protocol to structured ghost. And in Conflux blockchain, the parameter value of H is 600. That is, out of every 600 blocks, one block is weighted in structured ghost, and that weight is equal to 600 units of the normal operation block. So since the structured ghost protocol is launched, now the adversary, it makes it impossible for the adversary to withhold liveness attack for long, and hence liveness is ensured for the protocol. So for now we decide how, now we describe how the weight is attached to a block in the structured ghost protocol. We look at the hash of the block and take its modulus with the value H. Say in this case it is 600. If the value of the modulus is 1, then we assign the weight 600 to the block. Otherwise, we assign the weight 0. For example, suppose we have a block with hash H1 and hash H2. Now, the block with hash 1 will be assigned a weight 600 because we can see that its modulus with 600 will give 1. But the weight of the block with hash H2 will be 0. Further, we can see that probability of having a block similar to hash 1 will be 1 by 600, and hence liveness of the protocol is ensured by selectively assigning weight to different blocks. If you want to ensure safety of the protocol, consider a scenario where adversary A includes a transaction from A to B in block X. Now, to double spend these coins in another block Y, the adversary will need to mine the block Y. And notice that no honest node will accept Y because they have already accepted X. And then to include Y in the main chain, the adversary will have to compete with all the honest nodes which are mining on the heaviest subtree. It will have to create a different subtree privately where it has to mine enough blocks to overcome the weight of the heaviest subtree. For this, it can do either a 51% attack or a liveness attack. In a 51% attack, the hash rate that adversary holds is more than half of the total hash rate of the blockchain network. But since we have an assumption that the adversary holds strictly less than half of the mining rate of the network, 51% attack is not a possibility. As far as the liveness attack goes, what the adversary can do is it can halt the liveness of the main, the honest, uh, mm, uh, the honest subtree, and concurrently mine blocks on the private subtree. And since the growth of honest subtree has been stopped due to liveness being compromised, then when with time the adversary mines enough blocks to overcome the weight of the honest subtree, it can release the blocks publicly and hence include y instead of x in the main chain. But notice that we have already shown that liveness attack is not possible in Conflux blockchain protocol. Further, adding to this the assumption that majority hash power belongs to honest nodes, we can conclude that the protocol is safe against double spending attacks.
Now let's see some of the implementation and optimization detail as well as some statistics for our Conflux system. So Conflux is implemented in Rust because of the efficiency terms. We want a fast blockchain, that's why. And along with that, an EVM is also implemented to handle the smart contract transactions, as well as the code for Influx is open source and available on GitHub so that everyone can access it. Now, there are some optimizations based on the research paper done in the Conflux implementation. One of them, which is the most important one, being use of linked tree. So what is done basically, whenever there is already a subgraph present and we need to add one node into this subgraph, so we need to change the weight of the previous subgraph. So for that, we need to, and let's consider that the previous subgraph contained n nodes. So we need to change weight of n nodes, which will take a complexity of O of n with the naive implementation, so which is not bearable for a fast and robust system. So to optimize this, we need to do something. So that's why according to the research paper, linked tree, a data structure is used to store these nodes. And based upon the structure of linked tree, what is happening that whenever we were adding the nodes, so instead of updating the weights of all the nodes, it was done in a lazy manner, and which offers us a complexity of over log n complexity, which is a really bearable thing, as we can compare if we have 118 nodes, n is our 118, then we can surely see the large difference in that. And the second optimization being the deferred execution. So that is a pretty simple one. So instead of doing the task at the time when the new node is added, they were deferred and done at some other time, so that when they were needed, so that the ordering is also fine. So these are some of the optimizations done to make the system fast and robust. To do the evaluations based upon the research paper, 12K Conflux full nodes were taken on Amazon EC2 virtual machines, and they had a limit of bandwidth of 20 Mbps. And to measure the achieved throughput and confirmation latency, they were considering a block confirmation when basically compared to the 6 Bitcoin blocks to compare it with the Conflux system. After this, now let's see a little bit about the results, the graphs, about the statistics which came after the analysis as mentioned in the paper. So on taking a block size of 300K, we could achieve basically a rate of 4 blocks per second, rate of blocks. And along with that, Conflux achieves a 9.6 Mbps throughput, which is a very nice as compared to the Ghost protocol. It is basically approximately, we can say it is 32 times as compared to the Ghost protocol, as we can see in the graph on the left. The marks for the blue line represents the Conflux throughput and the orange line represents the Ghost throughput. As well as it is a pretty scalable as well. We could scale it to 12K full nodes using those virtual machines. And the transaction confirmation was also taking an average of 50 seconds, which is a very less as compared to the Bitcoin. So these are some of the characteristics of the Conflux which came upon the analysis on the results. As a conclusion of this presentation, we discussed from the start, we discussed some methods based on proof of work based for the blockchain. Then we discussed GHAST and Ghost based protocols like Conflux, which is the main of this paper. Then we discussed how the Conflux is secure and ensure liveness and is safe from 51% attack as well. Towards the end of the presentation, we saw implementation, a little bit of implementation things as well as optimization details and some statistical analysis. So full presentation offers us a wholesome experience of how Bitcoin-based blockchain, which has a pretty much lag as compared to the modern currencies like Visa and all, can be its efficiency can be increased, its throughput can be increased with some variations, some optimizations, and all those things. So I hope that you got to learn something from this presentation, and thanks a lot to listen to this presentation till the end. Thank you.